Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Sunday, July 30th, 2017 edition of VR News. Not a heck of a lot to talk about on this Sunday, but there are some interesting topics, starting with the first involving the Aliens franchise. Back before the commercial launch of VR, one of the fantasies that I had was to be able to romp around the Aliens universe in VR. And when I say Aliens universe, I mean the first two movies. Easily my favorite of the bunch. I know a lot of people agree with me on that. Well, the people who were lucky enough to have a DK1 and DK2 Rift, they got to experience exactly that when Alien Isolation was made compatible. But due to the way that code worked and the changes that the Rift SDK would undergo, sadly, compatibility was broken last year when the Rift launched. Now, for the last year and a bit, fans of that original Aliens VR experience were clamoring for it to be restored. Sadly, it never was, at least not until now, when Zach Fannin, who goes by the online alias of Nibre, made it work. Now, there are a few things not working just quite right. He's working on fixing those. He's even got future plans to have it work for the HTC Vive, which would be freaking fantastic. If you want to keep up to pace on his progress, you can follow him via Twitter. I'll have that link via the description below. He's also got a PayPal if you want to throw him a few cents, maybe help him buy a beer, etc. For me, Sigourney Weaver, easily one of my favorite action heroes of all time. And way before the Wonder Woman movie said you need to like more female action heroes, well, there was Sigourney Weaver. Don't need to say much more because she absolutely kicked arse in pretty much every facet of arse kicking. Growing up in Canada and Holland, there are two sports for me that I'm super passionate about. Of course, the European in me, the beautiful game. And whether it's, my favorite league, the Dutch league, or the German Bundesliga, or the English Premier League, go Liverpool, and of course, the Scottish League from time to time, I'm a fan. And I played it as a kid because, let's face it, you can be a poor kid and play soccer or football, however you want to call it. Sadly, the sport that I was equally excited about, hockey, I couldn't play. Single mom, very poor, you know the rest. You can't play hockey. So what I did play was baseball, and I wasn't near as passionate about it. I liked it, but I sucked. Like really bad. I was freaking horrible. And lucky enough, however, to be on a couple of championship teams based on the players around me, certainly not me. So I got to experience that side of it. Never really been a fan of watching the game, however, but those who are will probably appreciate this story. There was a deal a few months ago that Intel cut with Major League Baseball to broadcast live games in 360. This is a little different. This project is being called On the Verge. It's a partnership between Google and Major League Baseball. And what it's going to do is follow highlighted players documentary style in 360 as they go about their non-baseball day. So if you're a fan of certain players, you get to see what they do, what they're up to outside of baseball. So far, episodes include one with Pittsburgh Pirates first baseman Josh Bell, Mookie Betts of the Boston Red Sox. He figures in a couple of episodes, and I'm probably going to butcher this, Manuel Margot of the San Diego Padres. He's in another episode. You can watch these via the MajorLeagueBaseball.com app at Bad App on Google Daydream. Like I said, for me, not my bag, but for those of you who are into baseball, probably something there. For those of you who like to follow the players outside the sport, that is. The last time I got really excited about baseball was probably the Blue Jays with their back-to-back World Championship in the 90s. So in North America, currently, whether it's Canada, the US, and I'm guessing maybe in Mexico, there's a debate going on about how objective journalists are versus how much belief and partisanship they're throwing into news stories. Well, in other countries, it's a lot more severe than that. It's simply being able to have freedom of the press. Iran, one such country, they have received the dubious honor of being the country with the most imprisoned journalists for several years now. This year, that honor went to the once secular Turkey. Now, in this, you play the part of a journalist being interrogated by an actual person that existed in real life. His name, Asadullah Lajevardi. He's a Persian interrogator who worked at the infamous Evin prison in Iran. In the game, you're only able to answer your interrogator with nods or silence, and you've got to time those. Wait too long or not enough, and your answer may be perceived as being not truthful. Now, just a bit more of a sobering end piece to this story is that, and a little bit of a spoiler, so stop here if you don't want to hear this, but the game ends with pictures of journalists who were literally killed for reporting on the government, which, given the debate, like I said, we are currently having in North America, is definitely sobering food for thought. Back in the Commodore 64 days, which I know I talk about from time to time, musicians were like rock stars, arguably way more popular than the programmers of the games themselves. I mean, legendary SID musicians that to this day are still absolutely popular. A lot of that has kind of fallen to the wayside, but there are still some very prolific, very talented musicians working on games. One of these, Jason Graves, and he recently announced that he's going to be releasing the Lone Echo soundtrack for free. Now, Jason Graves has a credit list, guys. You got to check it out to believe it. Runs almost as long as Frank Zappa's album catalog, which is definitely saying something because I think Frank was over 100 albums. And a diverse set of games. City of Heroes, Far Cry, The Order, Command and Conquer. As diverse in genre as the music he creates. So Lone Echo is the latest soundtrack from Jason. Currently, if you want to just get a taste of it, if you haven't played Lone Echo, the article on VR Focus has links to 3 songs. You can check them out. I love it. Very atmospheric. And at the same time, he's got some nice electronic songs as well. No word on when the entire set's going to be released, but pretty damn cool as the music is pretty good. Now, it's kind of sad that the musicians don't get the credit and the, adoration that they once did. But just when you're going to give up on the music industry, it can surprise you. I had a recent one of those with Greta Van Fleet. And if there's more bands like that, we're probably going to be in okay hands. And that is it for the news on this Sunday. Hopefully you guys had a fantastic weekend and a good week ahead of you. As always, guys, cheers.